Steel City Roundtable back again. All right, folks, we're going to jump right into it today. I met this dude on Instagram. I just ran across his page and I thought what he was doing sounded pretty interesting. His name is Joe Swanson, and he is the founder, owner, and main instructor for Tactical Resilience Training System, correct?
Yeah,
Did I get
that's
that right?
yeah,
Okay.
you got it spot on. Tactical Resilience Training System. Former police officer. Done quite a few things in my life. As you can see, I have a bunch of tattoos. I was a tattoo artist started in '96 and was a police officer for 8 years. Worked for Highway Patrol and a PD out in California. And what I teach now, tactical resilience, tools that officers can bring with them on duty that supports not only their team themselves, but also the kind of peer support stuff that the departments have going on. Holistic wellness came, Mark, from me needing that when I was a police officer. And, I was doing all the right things with community and working out and, different stuff. And I still was disconnected, impatient, fatigued all the time, and ended up leaving that job. And so what I teach now, man, is really from a place of experience and passion to help others who are in that job be able to make better decisions, fight that fatigue, win that nervous system fight every day. So here I am. Thank you for having me on too, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. I mean, we may not agree 100% throughout the course of this conversation, but, the fact is anybody who's out there trying to help others, especially help others in the first responder community, deserves to be heard. We had a brief conversation before we went on the air. I was a police officer for 12 years and I'm a flaming drunk and an asshole. I've got a lot of mental issues and I on a daily, I got to deal with my shit. So let me ask you this. You worked for departments in California, right?
Yeah.
So what drew you to law enforcement in the first place?
So I had, as I mentioned, I was a tattooer. Started that in '96 out in California. Came back to Minnesota where I originally grew up and was finishing up a business degree. Got my business degree, emphasis in entrepreneurship. Came back out to California and I was tattooing. So I was tattooing at the oldest established shop in San Francisco, shop called Picture Machine. And man, just working long ass days, struggling. I had a small growing family and I was looking for something. I had kind of played with the idea, Mark, of doing maybe a criminal justice minor, and no law enforcement on my family. No, my grandfather was a Marine, but that was as close as I got. And when I started struggling as I was in San Francisco tattooing, I thought, like, what could I do that's useful, that is going to be around no matter what shit hits the fan, and I can help people. And so I thought, well, gosh, I had this kind of passing thought to go into law enforcement, a year ago or so. Let me look into it. Who could I get a job with that will pay for me to go through the academy and that I could do something? I like the idea of the critical thinking aspect of it, the cat and mouse, you're going to do something and try to get away and play by a certain set of rules. I'm going to go after you and with a certain set of rules, and I got to play within those boundaries. And let's try not to kill each other, but let's have some fun and see about this job. So look, I applied with Oakland PD, Contra Costa, which is a county out in California, Sheriff's Department, and the Highway Patrol. And lo and behold, the Highway Patrol picked me up. I went to the academy in 2000, August of 2000, CTC 300, for all those CHP guys listening, and went through the academy. I was fully sleeved at the time. They did not know what to do with me, man. Like this was, 25 years ago, conservative department. And I was coming from being a tattooer, and I came in day one. I mean, I talk about this in my training. Most people can remember that day one of the academy. What it
Oh,
felt
you're
like.
shitting bricks.
Shit bricks, excited, nervous. In California, it's hot in August. So I'm sweating in my suit, literally sweating. And I can smell the fresh cut grass because the academy was always pristine. And we go into the gym and we're lined up. And around the corner, here comes 12, a dozen staff officers, polished boots, pristine uniform, and they're ready to rock, dude. And it goes from calm to chaos like that. And needless to say, like it goes on like that for a little while. They kick us back out to our rooms. We go get into the uniform of the day. Well, what do you think the uniform of the day was? Short sleeve. And short sleeves. So I come back, I'm fully sleeved. Immediately, there is a laser on me. And Staff Sergeant Cooper, great guy. I ended up working for him for a little bit. And, 3-4 other staff officers surround me. Who let you in here, Swanson? I'm already sick and tired of seeing these tattoos, Swanson. Get back to your room and get those covered up. And so I start running to the room. Slow down, Swanson. And I slow down a little bit. Hurry up, Swanson. You better move with purpose. I hurry
that's
back
their
up.
job, though. Their job's to twist you up, break
That's
you
it.
down, and grow you in the fungus that they want you to be. You know what I mean?
Right. So they're playing this game, and I understand this game. Even then, I understood that this is going to be a stressful situation. I ended up, going back, getting in short sleeves. I did the whole 26 weeks, and it was good. I came out of it. But what that taught me, and the reason I'm telling you this story, is because stress, and it, doesn't stop at the academy for law enforcement officers. They're going to put you in that stressful experience so that when you get out on the street, you have some understanding of how to deal with it. So they teach you to be in those stressful situations. One thing that I've learned and what I needed, this is where my training comes from, is I didn't know how to reset from that experience, right? So stress didn't stop at the academy, it carried on. And then over time, that stress just biologically builds. And I didn't know how to offload it.
Let's back up a little bit. So
yeah,
there's 3 types of cops, 3 types of people that, want to become cops. There's those that have purpose or are seeking purpose. There's those that want a paycheck, and there's those that want to tell people what to do. Yeah. Those are the 3 types you get. Now, if you're lucky, you get the combination of all 3 into one person. The guy that wants money, or the girl that wants money, the person that has purpose or is seeking purpose, and the person that knows how to control a situation. They don't just want to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
They want to be able to control the situation and use their skill set. Now, you don't have to answer this like too crazy, but what type of person were you? It sounds like you were a person that was looking for purpose.
I was looking for purpose, definitely. I came up and when I was younger, I wanted to be a youth pastor. I was a Christian for many years, and I wanted to serve other people. So this was part of that. The cat and mouse sounded fun. It sounded like a fun career, but I also knew that it could be meaningful. Mm-hmm. And I knew that, as a tattooer, I knew about intentionality and communication and serving someone else, because that job doesn't happen without other people. So I was very connected with the service to other people. And that's what I brought into that job. I tell people the 2 careers that I learned the most in, being a tattooer and being a cop. And I learned communication and I learned intentionality, go ahead.
Okay. So let's fast forward. The reason why I get to that is because that'll play out at some point in this conversation. I guarantee it always does. Yeah. You had a different experience in the academy. So you went to the state police for your academy.
Yeah.
The state police, no, I don't care where you live. The state police get it right. They control you. They dictate your every movement. They dictate your every behavior. They are militaristic. In essence. Yeah. My academy was a fucking joke. I went to the Pittsburgh Police Academy, and in that academy, we had the chief at the time came in And, you're supposed to press the wall when you see another officer because sign of respect, right?
Sure.
This chief came in, didn't even have a gun, didn't even carry a gun, and freaked out when we didn't press the wall for her. And they asked us, like, why did you press the wall for the assistant chief? Like, we didn't know who the fuck she was. We thought she was a cleaning lady. You know what I mean? Like, no gun, no commanding of respect.
Sure.
So, talk a little bit about the academy. You've already mentioned, how it was. Yeah. They set the tone immediately with you, right? They were like, listen, we're going to control you.
Yeah,
we're gonna make you jump in any direction we want you to.
100%. I knew it was that way. And what's interesting, you say this, is that brings up two things. I just did this is how these synchronicities work. We jump on this conversation and it goes in the direction of a reel that I just did on Instagram about two worst things in policing right now. And that is weak leadership and weak training. You brought both of them up in the same scenario. And so you're right about the training that I was in. It was a live-in academy. We got Wednesdays nights off and weekends off. You had to be back at a certain time. You had to be, squared away. They can come into your room at any time, check my bunk. Can I bounce a quarter off it? Fortunately, I had a couple Marines around in my barracks. So I learned how to make my bed real tight and polish my boots. I was a tattooer. I didn't know any of that stuff, man. And so it was great for me. That experience was awesome because I didn't have to think about anything else, right? All I had to think about was the task at hand. Wake up this time, go PT, go square myself away, get to the classroom, learn this stuff, go to the range, drive the car. These are the things that I was locked in on. And I think that's
core
where
skills that you need to know.
I was super happy.
You need to go.
Yeah. And they go deep on those things, man. 26 weeks. And it's a lot on everything. And this is where I'm in hundreds of conversations in my DMs with officers, former officers. And what they're saying is this training standard has been brought down in so many places because they're struggling with recruiting certain departments. Now, there's anomalies everywhere, right? This is not across the board, but there are places that are really struggling to get people. So they bring that training level down, and they, even with in-service stuff, once you become a cop and you're there, it's really check the box. I was talking to a guy today. He's like, yeah, the instructor's there just to check the box. Everybody else is there just to check the box. And it is sad because this is the stuff that, one, is going to create impact out on the street. And two, most importantly, it's what's going to keep officers safe on the street. So I was very blessed with the level of training that I came into law enforcement with and continued to be a part of. I was an enhanced officer safety instructor and physical methods of arrest instructor. So I got a lot of tactical time and a lot of instruction time that I bring into what I do now.
See, I think that the standard of training, it's not like it's just started to drop. It's not because, I don't think it's because they can't get candidates. I mean, that's what the hiring process is for, right? You lower the standards in the hiring process in order to hire people. Listen, Pittsburgh, when I tested in 2007, there was like 1,000 people in a room that tested for that job. And there was like, 40 positions available immediately. Yep. And I was in the first class. I think we had 42 people, but they test from that list for like 2.5 years, right? So by the time they're done, they're getting Joe Blow, the fucking guy that doesn't even understand how to like use force or what force is because the guy's never been involved in anything in his lifetime, right? You're getting the bottom of the barrel by that time. Now, in 2018, I believe, or 19, I think they tested every month, and they tested like a total of like 400 people because, and I don't think it's, I'm going to ask you this. So what I'm saying, I want you to comment on when I'm done. Yep. The departments now, the pool that they're pulling for is shitty, right? And it's because, in my mind, it's a viewpoint that society doesn't like cops, right? I think we both agree that there's this huge opinion that society hates cops.
Yeah.
I don't get too political, but I think right now, liberal, Republican, I think on one side of the coin, it's a little worse right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Republicans they're just as bad as liberals when it comes to making bad decisions and doing dumb shit, getting in trouble, having to deal with the police. But I think if you go on the liberal side, it's become a little more like, I'm going to use an example of Black Lives Matter. Okay. Great organization, stands up for the rights of black citizens. Great. But it got infiltrated by violent people that just wanted to cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that party, like, political party has played a role in the anti-cop opinion in society, or do you think it's just across the board the same?
I think it's a little. I think there's definitely, as you mentioned it, right. There is this sort of, and it's been this way forever. There's this negative view of police, and it has gotten worse and worse over time. I do think that has to do with political agendas, right? It's not that become the thing that the chief or the admin or the leadership that's not strong leadership is pandering to. They have their own agendas. So you dilute the mission, protect and serve, and you have leaders that don't have a backbone, they don't have a spine, they don't have courage to step up and enforce the things that should be enforced and perpetuate and cultivate that idea of public service and protection, right? So they are on their own program. They're OP, man, own program. And
we had our last chief here, Larry Scarrato, the last chief in Pittsburgh. He told the city of Pittsburgh he was going to be here for a year and then resign. And he did exactly that. And the time he was here, he destroyed this department. Let me give you an example of the things that go on that, you've been out of it for a while. I've been out of it for about 6 years. So I still hear a lot of the shit that goes on, right? I'm still connected to some people. And this guy, he decided to cut staff on the weekends and at night. There was like maybe 20 officers working across the city on Saturday and Sunday nights in the worst parts of town where shit was going to go bad. And it was all because he had his own agenda. He was about making money. He was about changing the department to fit what he wanted to accomplish, right? Now, I'm not going to get into like his political backgrounds or any of the shit because I don't know enough about that. But
yeah,
do you feel it is an epidemic right now in law enforcement that the powers that be on the OP, I like that phrase, OP, the powers that be are literally driving these departments into the ground?
Well, it is what I hear and in conversations that I'm having on the daily basis, one of the most systemic problems that is plaguing policing right now is weak leadership. It is this idea that they are going for their own self-centered agenda, just like what you're talking about. And you can see the results of what that does. And they're on their own agenda. What it does is and I talked about this in this reel, they will push their failures down rank, right? And they will look for other people to place that blame on because it doesn't serve their purpose. And what that does is it undermines trust from all of the officers out there working on those weekends and on those evenings because they don't feel supported now. And it puts the mid-level folks in this position where they're watching their back from top down and from bottom up. And so they're just trying to navigate. So yeah, I think weak leadership, lack of ownership is one of the worst things that's happening in law enforcement. Now, I will say in all the conversations, I have been out for a while, but I'm in conversations and training a lot in these departments. And I'm talking to incredible chiefs, incredible mid-level management, incredible officers who still have a heart for service, who still have their mission agenda aligned with each other. And so it's not across the board. There's pockets in there that absolutely shine. And I think we need more of that.
When did you leave? Did you leave in 2008?
2008. Yep.
Okay. So I just started in 2007.
Yep.
So we're kind of a generational gap, quote unquote,
Sure.
in the
Yeah.
police department, in our conversations and in our understanding of the way things have gone. Right. So you left it when things were still, I don't want to say good, but cops were still doing their jobs and were still being proactive, for the most part.
Definitely. Like when I was coming in, body cameras were just like they were getting talked about. Now, while I was in, we went from no recording devices to audible recording devices on our person. I saw so many people saved by that recording. Improper, complaints against officers, inappropriate things that people said that were done. Hey, I got it right here. I recorded the whole thing, by the way.
The only person that the camera hurts is a guy that's doing shady shit. That's the only person that hurts.
You can say that again.
I mean, I've been saved. Like the cameras, I think came out in Pittsburgh in like 2010, maybe.
Yeah.
And I never had I hated them. I hated wearing them because they just got in the way. Like they didn't have a good mounting system. They were either mounted to your hat or your glasses, and they kept popping off. Fully went to the vest, the front mounted, until Apex. What was it? Apex? Whose company it makes? I can't remember.
Axion.
There you go. When they came out with the mount that had the magnet on the inside of the shirt where it mounted pretty firmly to the chest, then it became a game changer. Because I know so many times that thing got knocked off or fell off, or I bumped it getting out of the car, and I'd be like, well, fuck this thing. I'm leaving it here. I'm just going to go do my thing. I think the cameras are great. I still think they're great. I think they're the only, once again, the only person that hurts is a person that's doing stupid shit. The poorly trained or the poorly adept at picking up on what not to do, or the plain dirty, angry cop that just wants to be a dick all the time.
Right.
So after that rant, the evolution of the camera's it's come thousandfold since they started. We both agree that they're a good thing, so we can leave that in the past, right? We're done with that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the poor training. You said that you feel that the poor training do you feel it's just started? Because I personally feel it's been coming since I was in the academy in 2007. It's been a steady downslide.
Yeah, I do think, like, obviously, even when I came on and during my time, there was checkbox training, right? There's stuff that you just have to get this done and go in there. The instructor's not invested. They bring somebody in. I get this feedback a lot also, that people who take my training, they love, that I'm a cop or a former cop, because I've experienced what you've experienced. A lot of times the training, they bring in somebody that is just there and they're part of the corporate, contract that got brought in to handle this training. And so I do think it's been a slow trickle, but it's widened, right? So before it was a handful of things that were kind of lackluster, and now more and more of that training has become just that checkbox. So this is what I'm hearing now, the other side of that, man, the other side of that coin, and I talked about this on this last reel also, is there are a ton of great companies that you can get training from in all different domains, whether it's case law, defense tactics, resilience and wellness. There are a ton of great companies out there.
I'm going to stop you right there, because this is a conversation we shouldn't even have, because no department's going to pay for that shit, unfortunately.
And you know what?
That's the biggest problem.
There's also some great people out there who can help you understand as a police officer why you shouldn't buy that $70,000 truck, and maybe you should put some of that money into training, and you should take ownership of your own shit, and you should level yourself up in the job that you're in. So you can go out and you can likely a lot of departments will do some reimbursement for $150 to $300 training So go take a training from me, 169 ahead, go take a EF combatives course, go take blue and gold case law course. I did tons of narcotics investigation courses, and whether I paid for it out of my own pocket because I was smart with my money, or I paid for it and then got it reimbursed from the department.
You worked for a good department then. You worked for a good department then that reimbursed you.
Sure.
Yep,
absolutely.
The city of Pittsburgh, I took a lot of external training. I went through agencies like ILEE, which ILEE, which offered a lot of great free training. The Pennsylvania State Police, that's where I got my firearms instruction. They did a lot of places do free training. The biggest issue you're going to run into now is, will the department give you the time off? You're most likely you're going to have to burn your own days to make yourself a better officer, which is disgusting. I
agree with that.
Department should want you to become better and more proficient. Like you put in for community order policing or domestic violence or ethics courses, they're going to let you go. But as soon as you want to put in for like narcotics training, firearms training, anything that they deem is not necessary. A lot of these, for example, Pittsburgh Police Department, they don't want to have a narcotics division. They'd rather get rid of it. Because it's a way for them to avoid lawsuits if they don't have a narcotics division. Because what are you doing when you're doing narcotics? If you're doing it right, you're being proactive, you're being aggressive, and you're doing you're taking bad people off the street, and you're working hard, and you're working long hours, and you're doing all this other shit. You need to be proficient in certain skill sets, right? Warrant writing. What do you need for a warrant? You need search and seizure training, traffic stop training, tactics, patrol tactics, because you're going to get in fights. Like it's, they don't want that type of, they don't want that bullseye on their back, right? They want cops to go out there and shake hands and kiss babies and hug people and tell them it's okay. Well, guess what, folks? It's not okay. The things that are going on in society are not okay. Let me bring up an example. The ICE shooting that just happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yep.
That people saw a 20-second clip and lost their shit. But then you see all this backtracking now when people see that car accelerate, and they only saw the one officer. They only thought it was the officer at the door. They didn't see the officer at the front of the car. Now, granted,
actually shot
the guy that actually did the shooting. Now, we can talk about this all night. But still, it doesn't change the fact that that person took a deliberate, intentional, knowledgeable act of accelerating their vehicle at a law enforcement officer, and they got shot. If you were training people and you saw that video and you wanted to use that video as a training boat, which it's going to be, that's going to be a huge training video. Let's talk about what in that video, what you think was right, what you think was wrong. Let's just have a quick discussion about that, just to show the fact that mistakes are made on a daily basis, but it doesn't forgive people making really bad decisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I heard it stated really, really well the other day. You can have a terrible outcome and a good shoot.
Correct.
Right? Terrible outcome. This lady, kids lost their mom, families lost their daughter. This lady lost her life. A partner lost a partner, right? Terrible situation. And it's also terrible that the officer is going through what he's going through, right? And that is a massive amount of stress. So from what I teach, and there's so many breakdowns of that experience. So I'm not going to jump in and say whether it was a good or bad shoot, right? There's so much going on there. That's not my place to do that. What I would be curious about, the thing that I teach, wellness and resilience, stress management, nervous system resetting. Where was that officer coming from? What was happening 20, 30 minutes before that put him in this state of mind? Maybe perpetuated his elevated experience so that he didn't make. Okay, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but he made a certain decision, had a certain reaction time, had a certain heart rate, right? Had a certain view of experience. What I teach, and this is why it has to be taken with you, your EDC, part of your EDC has to be the baseline recovery stack that I teach. It is get that nervous system re-regulated out of sympathetic dominance, lower your heart rate, increase your ability to make smart, sound decisions, increase your reaction time by pulling yourself into a different experience. And you can do this with very tactical, simple, less than a minute protocols. So what I would be curious about, Mark, is where was that officer coming from? We know that that whole experience with ICE is an elevated experience in Minnesota right now. So we know that that officer was drugged by a car 300, some say 300 feet, some say 100 yards,
Yeah, like
some say
33 stitches.
yards, 33 stitches. He had been in that experience. How did he regulate that? How did he reorient his experience from that? Like, is he still elevated from that? So what I'd be curious about is, what is ICE doing? And anybody works in ICE's wellness department, hit me up. Like, let's figure out how to help these officers regulate that stress load that is constantly building naturally. And if you don't intentionally reset it, you are going to have experiences that are not sound. And so my question is, what was going on before that and around that officer's experience? All of those officers in that whole scenario that were conducting those operations that day, how were they regulated and what were they doing, and how is the department supporting the wellness so that they can make the best decisions in those very, very split second, life-changing experiences?
Well, I think the first thing they're going to do is be like, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about his mental state. We're going to keep that out of the books because that's not something they want publicly known if he was struggling. Because if he was struggling and they admit he was struggling, they're going to be like, why in the fuck was this guy here in the first place?
Sure.
Why was he out there working in this hot environment where people are actively getting in the way of ICE's efforts? Now, listen, I don't agree with everything that's going on with ICE. You know, my wife is Mexican. You know, she's going through the status change because she wants to stay here. You know, so I don't agree with a lot of the things that are going on. I also don't agree with people actively impeding ICE in a lawful operation.
Right.
So without having all the facts, like, we don't have all the facts to this.
No, we don't.
But, you know, what I'm getting at is, you know, I understand you're coming at it from a mental health aspect, right?
Absolutely.
Being grounded before you go to that call.
Yep.
But you know as well as I do, things change by the second. So he could have been completely fucking grounded, and this person drives at him. What are you going to do? You know, like how do you? I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree that, you know, officers have to take care of their mental health. They have to recenter themselves. They have to find a way to be at ground zero when they go to a call.
That's why I call it the baseline recovery stack. You have to recover back to baseline. And as you experience stressful situations, and stress is not the bad thing, unregulated stress is the bad thing. Stress in that moment provided him focus, energy, and a myriad of other things. Mm-hmm. Probably did that prior to the experience as well. What I'm saying is regulate that stress throughout the day, throughout your shift, in between those peaks, because you have to oscillate between stress peak and recovery to maintain that baseline. And over time, that baseline obviously rises. You get some real high level operators that can keep that baseline, keep their stress load at that baseline pretty easily with protocols, intentionality. But what that does, and what people don't realize, I think, so much in law enforcement, is your decision making, your reaction time, these very tactical things that you want to, that allow you to operate at a high level, are impacted by the stuff that I teach. So you can everybody says, yeah, let's center ourselves, let's ground ourselves. What does that really mean? That means you get yourself back to baseline so that you can make the best decision. You have the best reaction time. You have the best heart rate regulation, so that you are operating at a high level.
So say this officer involved in a shooting was at his proper baseline.
Sure.
How does your program going to improve someone that's in that situation? Like you can't plan for it, right? You can't plan for anything. All you can do is be prepared mentally to deal with the worst of the worst and have shit change on you constantly, right? Like split-second decisions, lifetime to deal with them, right? That officer made a decision. Now he's going to deal with it for the rest of his life, you know? Now, I'm going to go out there and say, if me personally, if someone was driving at me with a car, I'm shooting them as well. You know, depending on the situation, you know, like his situation, this is a person apparently that, you know, had continuously impeded ICE's attempts to do their job, which, you know, listen, you try to arrest someone for doing that, they're going to throw it out. They're going to say it's not that big a deal. She wasn't really being violent. She wasn't being resistant. But the minute you use a car as a weapon, and to me, it's very clear that that second officer, the one at the front of the car, was in jeopardy of being run over. Plain and simple. How is your training going to help someone make that split-second decision better? You know, you see what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
I'm trying to see how you would train people. Like, what do you teach people in order to face that situation or a situation that's high stress?
I appreciate that. It is, again, a little bit of what I just talked about, and that is using protocols, using tactical protocols throughout your shift.
What's an example?
So an example would be a grounding technique, where you are either verbally grounding or you are using a silent grounding technique that reduces heart rate, that improves decision making by pulling that nervous system out of sympathetic dominance into parasympathetic. And so it, again, reduces heart rate, improves those biological things that are happening throughout the shift.
So like tactical breathing.
No, you can use tactical breathing as well. Grounding is a little different than tactical breathing. You can use them in conjunction also. You can stack them.
I mean, what would be an actual skill that someone could do, like a grounding skill? I get you're giving me examples of what what you can do. You can do this or you can do that. But what's a specific thing that maybe, you can just briefly touch on?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me talk about one of the easier ones that I just taught on my Instagram. It's an expressive motor output task. Okay, this is a visual journaling technique that anybody could use, and I will show you here. This is the page that I did it in, right, for 45 seconds. Okay. An expressive motor output task, you can use this consciously or unconsciously. Consciously is like a pressure release valve. Unconsciously is like a pressure release valve. Consciously resets and reorients an experience. So let's say prior to that incident, that officer had coming on throughout the day and had a few peak stress experiences. Grab your field notebook, grab your pen, close your eyes, keep your eyes open. Doesn't really matter. It is about the hand movement, that you are just moving your hand around this page. I'm not paying attention to what my hand's doing. I'm talking to you. I'm looking over here. And what this is doing scientifically is lowering my heart rate, shifting my nervous system back to parasympathetic, so I'm not hypervigilant.
Tell me what you mean. I'm a big dummy. So what do you mean by parasympathetic?
So there's nervous system sits in either two modes.
Okay.
Parasympathetic is calm mode, right? Sympathetic is that fight or flight mode. Fight, flight, or freeze mode.
Okay.
Well, when officers are constantly exposed to stress isn't bad. unregulated stress is the bad thing, right? The load that accumulates. So they sit in sympathetic dominance. Their nervous system is constantly sitting over here in fight, flight, or freeze. Creates this thing called hypervigilance. So as you and I both probably have experienced, we get off shift and we're still wired. We're still constantly looking. We're still constantly scanning. We're at home with our kids, locked in our own homes, and we're doing this, right? You have to shift out of that sympathetic dominance with your nervous system into parasympathetic. So you're out of fight or flight so that you can have better connection. Again, better decision making. You have better reaction time. All of these things are results of these protocols that I teach and what they do. So this officer could have taken that notebook 30 seconds before getting to that call, 60 seconds, done a expressive motor output task, lowered his heart rate, shifted his nervous system, and been prepared to make a better decision. Well, and I don't want to even say better, because I'm not going to judge his decision whether it was good or bad.
Like the most appropriate decision.
Yes, thank you. Great reframe. The most appropriate decision, reaction time would have been better or improved. All of these things, the awareness and focus would have been improved. So again, and he could have used that protocol plus a tactical breathing protocol. Again, you can stack these things on each other.
So these are things that you should become part of your daily routine.
EDC, baby. Everyday carry. You go on shift. You got your firearm. You got your other tools on your belt. You got your radio, and you have these protocols with you. Now, this is where I really hone in on, because so many departments, so many officers understand that they need to do certain wellness activities, and they do them sometimes on shift, most of the time off shift. But these are EDC on shift protocols.
Good luck trying to get like a department like the city of Pittsburgh to pay you to do that. You know, unfortunately, because it's officer based, it's officer wellness based. It takes a backseat to, you know, community oriented policing and the other, I want to say, the less authoritative tasks of a police officer, right?
Well, see, and I would push back. Here's what I would tell a police department like Pittsburgh. You want to,
hey, Chief Lando, if you're listening,
hey, let's have a conversation. I'm happy to talk through these facts. Every dollar spent on wellness and resilience training for an officer, there is on average, let's call it $3 return on that investment. Reduced overtime dependency, better retention. All of these things trickle down. You want to have better community policing? You want to have more impact in your community? Now, if you are on your OP, your own program, and your agenda isn't that, well, then I can't help you. But if you want better impact, more from all of your officers, and your mission is aligned with public service, safety, and protection, then these protocols, as part of your officer's everyday carry, are super critical. That's how I would put back on that.
I agree. Let me give you an example why I say this. And now I'm no genius, right? Like, I'm just a drunk ex-cop who did his job. You know, I was mediocre at best. I wasn't great. I wasn't horrible. I don't claim to be anything better than the next guy. But when I came out of rehab, I reached out to the police department, the Pittsburgh Police Department, said, hey, listen, I have something that I can give you for free. I can come talk to your recruits. I can talk to your veterans about undiagnosed mental health issues, on addiction, on substance abuse, on dealing with stress, on dealing with trauma, on dealing with your problems. And I had probably left 7 or 8 messages, and I never got a phone call back. I reached out to the academy. I reached out to the wellness officer. Same shit. I reached out to another police department, Cranberry Township, which is north of Pittsburgh. Same thing. They wouldn't even let me talk to their people for free. Like,
it's part of a systemic thing in certain areas. This culture of silence, which my training talks about. We try to break this down. It is not useful. It was originally set up to protect officers, right? This is the thinking. What it does is it's impacted officers in a negative way. There is so much science about part of my protocol. That baseline recovery stack is a peer check-in. This is not with therapy language. This is not a bitch session. It's not venting. It is a structured peer check-in that is going to also reduce heart rate, build connection, build team resilience, improve decision making, and reorient one's experience so that they can operate at a high level, so that they can make the impact that your department wants to make. The idea that they're not going to invest in these types of trainings speaks back to what we talked about earlier, and that is the eroding of good training. So what I would say is likely those departments that you talk to, nobody's going to convince them to do it. And they're going to have to learn over time, or get a new chief, new leadership who's going to take ownership and have the back of those officers and their staff. And they're going to change the culture. That takes a great leader to do that.
And it takes decades.
It takes
groundwork. It takes starting at one point and slowly building. Now, I think Jason Lando, the new chief of Pittsburgh, is a great guy. I've worked with him. I was trained by him. I've seen him on numerous incidents with the city. He's a good dude, and I think his head's in the right place. But you're running into the wall of the city of Pittsburgh. You're running into a large department and the influence that the city itself has on policy and on procedure, right? Mm-hmm. How do you combat that? Coming at this with like a very I want to say new age type of training, right? Like a new way of looking at things. It's not just looking at it as like, hey, cops have bad mental health, they need to talk. No, it's saying, hey, here's things you can do on a steady basis to try to better yourself and to keep yourself at that baseline. How do you combat, you kind of touched on a little bit, but how do you combat that with these departments that look at you and go like, what are we going to get out of this? Like, what is the point? Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Because a lot of them will be like, it sounds like a bunch of foo-foo bullshit, and it's not.
Yeah. No, this isn't woo. My buddy likes to say this isn't woo wellness. Yeah. Right. And I've picked that up, and I love that because it's not. You want, again, as a chief whose mission is aligned with public service, safety, and protection, there's a lot of science and data on this type of training, improving not just the wellness of, this is all buzzword bullshit, not just the wellness of your officers. No. This is impacting the effectiveness and the overall impact of what you're doing in the community. So what I would probably say is, it has to also, one of the big things, backing up here a little bit, leadership has to start at every level. So I don't care if you're on FTO, you are an FTO, you're a lieutenant, deputy chief, all the way up to the chief. You can lead at any one of those levels. It takes extreme ownership and it takes intentionality. And so it starts oftentimes with the troops asking for it, doing it, and it starts to permeate because of their leadership. And the chief might see that and say, okay, you know what? I get this. I see the impact that little team, that my graveyard shift is having, because why are you guys having this kind of impact? Hey, LT, why is this team doing this? Oh, wow, that's interesting. So sometimes it has to start from within. Sometimes a new leader can get that fire and go, you know what? Yeah, I get it. I've seen the data. I do want to be a part of that. I am not interested in buzzwords, but I'm interested in impact. And let's have that conversation. And if you want to pull the city manager into that conversation, I'm happy to talk to him about it. If you want to pull whoever,
you'd have to talk to the mayor here.
Let's bring him on, Mr. Mayor. Let's talk about it, because
I will give you their names. I challenge you to reach out to the city of Pittsburgh. I want you to prove me wrong. Like, sure. I want to see, listen, we've only talked for about an hour and I'm already on board. Like what I think
Yeah,
you're doing is great. Now I have
appreciate
a
you.
lot of questions because I'm a big dummy and I don't understand a lot of the shit that you say.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I gotta verify. Um, but I do challenge you. I do challenge you to reach out to the public safety here. I'll give you all the information you want.
yeah.
I'll tell you who
Please.
to call. And
Yep.
I think you should. I think you should reach out to them because, the morale here sucks. The cops here, they don't feel like they're being taken care of. They don't feel like they're being protected by their own department. They feel like anytime they do something, they're going to get in trouble. It's guilty
Yep.
before proven innocent. I have to defend myself on every action I
Yeah.
take. One of the reasons why I left, to be honest with you, I mean, granted, I was a huge alcoholic, so that was a big
Sure.
part of it.
Yep.
But another part was I didn't feel like I could be a cop anymore. I wasn't being proactive is not rewarded anymore.
Yeah.
It's
This is a
punished.
huge thing, and this isn't just in the US, right? I'm talking to UK cops. I'm talking to cops from Australia. I'm talking to cops as far as Kosovo, right? That hit me up in my DMs and say, man, admin versus patrol. Yeah, that real resonated with me. That whole idea that they're on their own program, they don't have my back, and I can't trust them, and I'm just as likely to get prosecuted, maybe even more than the criminal that I keep arresting. That's systemic, man, and it's around the world.
I
And
mean,
so,
it's crazy.
it's a sad thing. It's crazy. It takes, again, this isn't everybody, right? It takes those shining lights to talk about it. It takes them to show, hey, look what my department's doing. Look at the impact I'm having here. And it takes these kind of conversations to bring
Yeah,
these things up. But it's those officers are not alone. They
yeah.
are, and here's what I tell those officers: you take ownership of your understanding, your knowledge. You have your own back, and then have the back of your team, and then have the back of your department, and then have the back of your city, right?
Mhm.
But you got to take ownership of it right from the get go. And maybe you got to go out on a Saturday or a Wednesday or whatever your day off is and get that extra training in case law so that you can be proactive. Get that
Our,
extra.
our our new mayor elect defunded the police.
Sure. Yeah.
Defunded the police. Don't get me started. So you get your hands full with Pittsburgh. Have fun.
Sure.
Um,
Well,
so
and
let's.
here's the thing. I'm talking to, we talked about it before we jumped on. I'm talking to some cities around Pittsburgh in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania. And I think a lot, what you might find and what Pittsburgh might experience at some time is these other smaller agencies providing really good training, providing really good um, really good places to work. I'm talking to a chief out there who's gung ho about this stuff and
Mhm.
wants to support his officers and wants to them to thrive and have the most impact. And so what you'll find is there'll be a lot of lateral transfers because people are going to start going to those other departments that actually do support them.
I mean,
And
we've had that problem since I was a cop. I mean, we've had a problem keeping people. It's been
right,
that it's been that way forever. It's been that way forever because the pay. Up until recently, the city of Pittsburgh made like 60,000 a year.
yeah,
You've got departments like Monroeville, 100 plus, Penn Hills,
right,
100 plus. You got departments that are making close to 120 a year just to show up for 40 hours a week, and you know they're doing half the work because Pittsburgh is the biggest department in this area. With
yeah,
I think around 600 some officers now. It used to be almost 1,000.
yeah,
Um, but when I started in 2007, they were doing 300,000 calls to service a year in the city
right.
of Pittsburgh, over 300,000.
They're more worked, they're
Mhm.
more pressed on overtime, and you can go out now get a $40,000 a year raise.
Mhm.
You can work out on shift. You're backed by your LT. You're
Mhm.
backed by your chief. The community loves you, right? And who's not going to do that?
I mean, the city
So
of Pittsburgh could use someone, that wants to reshape the wheel, and that's what you're doing. In a way, you're reinventing the wheel of um, personal. How do I put this? I'm trying to think of a good way to say this so it makes sense. Uh, I guess I would say personal wellness, but it's not just personal wellness. It's taking a stake in your own evolution.
yeah, absolutely. And personal responsibility and development.
That's the word. That's the word. Thank you. I couldn't
No,
even think of it. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it is just that. And if when we as people start to create our own validation with our own actions and we lead ourselves effectively, that permeates,
Mhm.
right? It's why it's a big part of my
Lead by example, 100% lead by example.
lead by example. And it's so much because I get it from civilians also on my Instagram, on my LinkedIn, on in DMs. They say, yeah, I just want the cops to lead by example. I want them to be held accountable. Well,
And I
yeah,
agree. That's a big problem. Accountability in law enforcement is a big problem. I had a gentleman on here, Todd Hollis, who's a civil rights attorney, a civil attorney, right?
yeah, yeah,
And he talks about how, there's cops out there that make numerous pretty egregious mistakes and maintain their jobs.
yep,
They
yep.
may lose a little bit of money, but they maintain their jobs. So there is a problem with police accountability. I think overall, good cops are on the streets. Most of the cops are
I
good.
do too.
There's just some that are dumb and do dumb shit.
Right.
But so let's get into. So tell me, how does your program work? Let's talk about
Yep.
that for a little bit. Like, how do you, what's your program? How does it work? What does it cost? All that type of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, I do a 1-day, 8-hour workshop for a department. Couple different models that they can bring me in on. You want to train 40 of your officers, bring me in for 1-day fee for that training. We're going to get everybody trained up, and it's going to permeate outside of your department. Now, from those 40 people, we can also license. I have an online version of the course, so we can license it so everybody at your department can get access to that. And that varies in price, but it depends on how big your department is. And that is another thing. Officers, if you want to train yourself up, if you know what, fuck Pittsburgh, they're never gonna do this for me, and I can't get the time off, and I can't, this, that, or the other. Take responsibility. I got an online course. You can get the same training plus a couple bonus extras that I would teach in person. You just don't get the in-person teaching, okay, right? So you can still, grab that. Just go to my Instagram, Joe Swanson Tactical, links in the bio. You can hit that course and you can get all of this stuff that I'm talking about and that I would teach in person individually.
What's the cost for an individual to do the online course, just to get an idea?
Yep, it's typically priced at $499. Okay. I have I just launched it for 2026 at a $169. So okay, somebody can come in there. It's lifetime access. As I update it, as I improve it and continue to add things to it, you'll have that. It's not like you get it for a year or get it for 3 months or something. $169, lifetime access. You can go through it, learn why things happen biologically, why you're not alone, why you're feeling fatigued, why you feel on edge. How do you tactically approach that to reset your nervous system, to give yourself the advantage? And then we talk about leadership and how you lead at every level once you're reset and once you have that critical thinking dialed, better reaction time, all of that. So,
is the online course interactive? Is there how's it like? I don't want you to give it all away because people got to come check you out, right?
100%.
Are there practical exercises that you do with you, or is it just kind of like a lecture and learning?
So it's definitely not just a course to watch. And I even say this when you go check it out. This is not a course. This is a transformational program that you can use tactically and strategically to improve what you're doing and to develop your skills. So there are definitely scenarios. There are some reflection exercises. There are some other exercises in there. Obviously, you don't get the back and forth play with me. So yeah, some of it's video lecture and explanation on how you can tactically go in take the workbook, take the part of the workbook that comes with that part of the course, and then go in and rep this stuff. Because this stuff, I mean, yes, you can use it one time, like I just showed, and it's going to improve you. But you need to do it. It needs to become, like we talked about, part of your EDC, everyday carry. And you just got to get into the habit of doing it. So one of the big things that we talk about at the beginning of the course is a reflection on your why, right? It's a baseline intent reflection. What's my intent in this course and taking this course, and what's my why? Because as the great Jim Rohn said, who is a business mentor, and that guy's amazing. If you haven't heard of Jim Rohn, just go type in Jim Rohn on Instagram, and that guy's incredibly powerful. But what he said is, if your why is big enough, the how is easy. So if you identify early on, and this is what we do before you even get into the modules in the course, and we do this in person as well in the training, if a department wants to bring me in, we are going to identify your why. Why are you here? Why are you interested in developing your skill in this area, building your resilience, and why would you take the time to do this? Is it about your kids? Is it about your purpose? What is it about? And we identify that, man, because I think it's super critical to really hone in on that, so that when the time comes and you're like, shit, calls are stacked up. Do I have 60 seconds to do this, to put myself in the right mindset? I'm going to do it because I remembered, oh, this is why I'm doing this. So when I get to that next call and I have quicker reaction time, better thinking, I could possibly go home to my kids now, right? Because I handle that differently.
You've touched on it quite a bit, but in a nutshell, what is your program? Just so, once again, go over it again. What is the basics?
100%. Tactical resilience, on-duty protocols that you can use to build that baseline. Get yourself back to baseline and then increase the baseline over time. So again, stress isn't the problem. As a cop, you're going to be, as a first responder, you are going to be stressed. That is not an issue. Gives you some focus, gives you some energy. It's designed to help you in those peak situations. The stress builds. There's a load there on your mind and body that happens. So what my protocols and my training teaches is to offset that, offload that load, so that you can, have better energy. You can have better decision making, better thought process, nervous system regulation, so you can operate at a high level. And most, as you said it, man, most of these cops out there are trying to be high level operators, and they want to operate at the best. Well, this is one way that we now know science tells us that we can operate at a higher level, and it's with these protocols. So tactical resilience, let's build this resilience like a skill, and let's rep these things just like weapons tactics, jujitsu or otherwise, and use them every day to be the best that we can be.
Put it in your toolkit, folks. There's plenty of space in there. Joe, where can people find you if they're interested in just talking to you or interested in doing your program?
Yeah, absolutely. On Instagram is a big one, Joe Swanson Tactical. You can also find my website, dig into it there too, joeswansontactical.com. But I run my Instagram. I'm the one that's behind there. If you have a conversation with me in the DMs, it's me. And so whether you are a department that wants to bring me in, or you are an officer who wants more information about personal and skill development in this area, just hit me up there. I'm happy to have those conversations.
We're going to wrap it up here. What little nuggets would you like to leave the viewers, listeners with?
Yeah, I think all of this, as we've talked about, sort of at length here, it all boils back down to personal responsibility. Take personal responsibility, really understand why you are doing what you're doing, build your knowledge, build your skills, and build your connection with not only your family, community, but also your team in the department that you're in. And you lead from whatever level you're at. So lead from where you're standing. That'd be the big thing, man.
I like it. Joe, you exemplify what I'm about. Share, help, repeat. Share your stories, your experiences, what you're doing, helping others, what you're doing, and you're doing it every chance you get. And for that, I applaud you. Like I said, I'm a big dummy, so I don't understand everything you said today. But we're going to have some more conversations. I'd like to have you on again down the road, and definitely reach out to me when you get here in Pittsburgh. I'd like to have you come on and do a live show if you can while you're in town. But folks, hey, listen, Steel City Roundtable, Joe Swanson, amazing dude. Glad I got to meet you. Glad we had this conversation, and we're going to do it again. We'll see you next time, folks.
Take care, everybody.